Hello all and welcome to a brand new Parry Pickups. Thank you very much for joining us today for what will be the final Parry's Pickups from Denmark as I'm moving back to the UK. So without further ado, we'll just crack on with it and we're going to talk about Sonic Forces. Yes, Sonic Forces. So recently, of course, we've had Sonic Mania. There's no looking past that. Fantastic old school Sonic game with an old school challenge. This is a modern Sonic game and follows pretty much a template set by ever since Sonic Unleashed, really, I'd say, and generations expanded upon that. We had a little bit of a strange detour with Sonic Lost World, and let's not really talk about Sonic Boom because that really wasn't that great. Not in comparison to this, which I really like and I've been playing a lot of lately. It's not got the same level of challenge as Sonic Mania. It's not got the same nostalgia as Sonic Mania, but it does stick with that aesthetic that was established way back in Sonic Adventure. And I'm also a fan of modern Sonic, so for me it is pretty cool. It also keeps some of those things that were introduced in Sonic Generations, like here he is, Little Sonic, classic Sonic making an appearance as well, with some levels dedicated to a more traditional Sonic style gameplay. Still not quite replicating what Sonic Mania managed to do, but it's nice that it's there all the same. Presentation wise, at first I wasn't sure about this game because the menus are a little bland and the story is a little generic and really doesn't do a lot new for the franchise. But it does have this sort of Forces look of paint, and what that is the world is 99.5% controlled by Robotnik at this point, or Eggman. I still call him Robotnik after all these years. And it's basically you're at war. And it's got a very dramatic tone from the beginning. And Sonic's taken out of action early on, and there's some very dramatic dialogue. Tails has apparently lost it since Sonic's been kidnapped, and he's being tortured at Robotnik's space station, the Death Egg. And it's up to you as your new original character to go and rescue Sonic. And from there on, you kind of switch between Sonic, classic Sonic, and your original character, sometimes even teaming up with Sonic in some of the missions. The gameplay is on that same level of quality you've come to expect now from more recent Sonic games, established in Unleashed and really improved with in Generations, and also Sonic Colors as well. You can't forget Sonic Colors. A lot of aspects are introduced in that, like the Wisp characters, which give you special power-ups. They're all present and correct, so don't expect anything radically different from those games, but if you did enjoy those games, then you're certainly going to find a lot to enjoy here. The original character does shake things up a little bit, as you have a weapon which is like a lasso, so you can use that to swing off the thing Sonic would usually bounce off. So across the level are like little machines which let you cling onto them and you swing through. It all looks very dynamic. That's one of the things this game does really well. When it's fast, it's dynamic, the camera sweeps around and shows off some really nicely designed levels and graphics. And it's fast, which is great. Sometimes maybe a little bit too fast because as Sonic especially can hold down the square button to do a boost and kind of whiz through a lot of the level with very little effort. And if the game has any real downside, it's the fact that it is rather easy, but at the same time straightforward. There's two modes, easy and hard. I don't know what easy is like, because hard isn't particularly difficult. Also, you don't seem to have lives, so if you do mess up a section, you return back to the nearest checkpoint. So it all makes the progression very smooth, and it seems to be designed just to be an accessible game. And it is fun. I like the overall graphical presentation. Maybe some of the menus and the setup for the story, I thought, these are a little bit below par for a Sonic game. But the gameplay, I think they've refined over the years now, and it seems to have less kind of irritable moments than some of the older 3D Sonic games, which is nice. Occasionally, though, I do end up pressing square and whizzing off a platform by accident, because basically if you press square you get boosting, so it's very easy to fall off areas, just like it has been since Sonic Adventure, really. Um, but actually, it's a quality title, I'd say. Just don't expect too much challenge, and it doesn't reinvent the 3D Sonic wheel, but it does add in the original character and also the unlockable, customizable objects you get as you complete missions. And you've got daily challenges, which is cool. What else do you have? That you can go back to revisit old levels to do new missions on them. So even though I've heard the story is relatively short, there's a lot to go back to, and a lot of different challenges in each mission, and lots of collectibles as well. So I'm enjoying this a lot. It's been released at a more budget price, I think £35 its retail price. I got this just under 30s, pre-ordered it from Amazon, as I do every Sonic game, pre-order them, because I really like Sonic, and this one hasn't really disappointed me in a way that I wasn't sure about, because I've been hearing less than great things about it. But I think if you're a Sonic fan, you tend to look over these slight niggles, but there aren't actually a lot of them in Sonic Forces. I've been very much enjoying it. So we move on to another platform game, and one that's probably got more in common with Mario than it does with Sonic, and that's Super Lucky's Tale for the Xbox One. As soon as I saw this game, I was attracted to it. Being a big fan of 3D platformers and also just bright, colourful, character-based games, this was a must-have for me. I got this for just under £10 with some game points, reward card points. I bought myself a Nintendo Switch. For those listening to the podcast, I also co-host. You'll know I picked up a Switch recently, and that enabled me to get quite a lot of money off Super Lucky's Tale, which is nice, even though it is again a budget title at just £20. There seems to be quite a lot there actually. There's, like any of these mascot-based 3D platform games, there's something to collect, and in this game you're not collecting stars like in Mario, you're collecting clovers, and there are 99 clovers to collect. I've got about 14 of them so far, and I've been playing this game for a good, maybe more than a couple of hours now. Maybe I'd say as much as maybe 3 hours, I'm not sure, but it's very, very playable, and everything looks really great. It's rendered very nicely. Your character Lucky, he controls exceptionally well. He's got a few unique moves, like a little burrow move or a dig underground to collect things. There's been a few, I wouldn't say glitchy things, but a few control issues and interaction with the landscapes. Now these are few and far between, but occasionally I find myself getting a little bit stuck in places. But that has only happened maybe once or twice, so I wouldn't let that put you off. But overall, it's got a lot of quality design to it, very reminiscent of more recent Mario games, especially I'd say Mario 3D World. This reminds me of that an awful lot, and I'd say it's the closest thing you'll get to that game on the Xbox, or on any other console that's not a Nintendo console, to be honest with you. And the story involves this little fox called Lucky, who, is destined to be a great adventurer, but he's a little bit young at the moment, and he hasn't really embarked on his quest. His sister, I think, has, and she's been off searching for an ancient book, which he finds, but the evil cats are after the book as well. I guess it's one of them great power items that this cat dictator wants. He's similar to, I guess, Bowser Robotnik. He wants to take over, so he needs this book. Lucky gets involved and accidentally gets transported into the book. Now he's trapped inside the book along with the cats, and I've defeated one of the cat bad guys at the moment, similar to like Bowser's kids in Mario. That's like a kung fu cat, and now I'm on like a tech cat, the next world I've entered. Need to take her down. So basically you collect these clovers, you collect these coins, you get enough, you get to face the boss, you get to move on to the next world. All very traditional kind of platform game stuff, but what it does very well. And I have to say, I'm very happy with this purchase. It's developed by Playful, not a developer I'm familiar with, but they've done a great thing with this game. I will keep an eye on them in the future to see what else they do. Maybe Super Lucky's Tale too. But for now, there's plenty for me to do with this game, and I'm really, really liking it. In fact, my first impressions of this are better than my first impressions were of Ukulele, which is a similar kind of game. Ukulele, however, does have that same that nostalgia factor to it in its presentation, and it is more similar to Banjo-Kazooie, or this is more similar to, I'd say, Mario 3D World. So moving on to another Xbox One game, as I drink my cup of tea. And that one is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Non-exclusive title, this is available on the PS4 as well. I got an Xbox One because a friend of mine has it and I want to play them online, so simple as, really. One thing I'll firstly say about the 63GB install, that surprised me somewhat, and I wasn't prepared for that, so I had to delete quite a lot off my Xbox One in order to play this. So just a warning, it does say 40 on the back, it's also got an update, so bear that in mind when you, if you decide to pick up this game. It's traditional Marvel vs. Capcom type gameplay, but now it's 2-on-2, not 3-on-3. And it's been made a little bit more accessible to newcomers, so it's very easy to pick up and play, basically. Easier than any other. Even though Marvel vs. Capcom's not exactly been the most difficult game to pick up and play, now they've made it more accessible. But there is still a challenge in there, as I found out playing through the game's story mode, which I have to sing the praises of. It's incredibly engaging, I found. Initially I wasn't sure. I'd played that story demo of the game, and it saw you fighting a lot of Ultron Sigma, which is a villain here, a lot of his robotic enemies, and it's never quite as fun destroying drones as it is destroying or battling against real characters from the franchises. And so there was a lot of that at the beginning, a lot of story set up. And I wasn't really sure what was happening there, but you know, it finds its feet, and you go back to Earth, and you've got Thanos at this point. He's been held captive in Asgard, and you need him to find out the location of the Infinity Stones, as Ultron Sigma is after them as well. So basically, you mostly play as little groups of characters who go off and try and find a particular Infinity Stone. For example, Ryu and Hulk go off Wakanda, is it? They go to and they meet up with Black Panther, who's got the Time Stone, so you get a little bit of a fight there. And then Chris Redfield's off in Umbrella Corporation, which has teamed up with the AIM faculty. You know, MODOK, the evil villain, the big head, he's the leader of this AIM group, and that teamed up with Umbrella to make AIMbrella. So you can see these two worlds are really colliding in this game, and it's a joy to behold the interaction between the characters. It's all very well written and put together. The main storyline works very well for this kind of team-up game. And it's great to see the Marvel and Capcom characters interacting so naturally with each other. It's got very good writing that understands each individual character and teams them up with other like Marvel characters where they'll have a good sort of dialogue. It's very engrossing, you know. It's hard to put down the story mode once you start playing it, and it also throws in some extra challenges along the way, so it's not always straight one-on-one battles. Sometimes you're maybe against two opponents at one time, or you'll have an objective, meaning you have to defeat the enemies within a certain time limit before something else will happen. So occasionally it does throw different ideas out there, because there's a danger in a game like this to get repetitive, but it's much better implemented than the story mode is in Street Fighter 4, I'd say. There's definitely been a lot more time taken to write the characters well and to make the story engaging. And you go to several different locations as well. It's always shaking things up. I haven't played it online yet. I have played multiplayer against a friend of mine, and that played very well. I'll have to try out the online soon, see how that works. We can find matches easily, and if it's got a good user interface. It's probably very similar to Street Fighter 4's, I imagine. I say Street Fighter 4, I meant Street Fighter 5. My apologies. These games just keep coming and coming, don't they? It's hard to keep up. But yeah, I like this game a lot. Didn't disappoint. I got it for a nice price, about £23 off Shop2, which occasionally has some really good deals, so keep an eye out on them. Marvel vs. Capcom. And next up, we have a game that I picked up here in Denmark from Blue City, which I mentioned more than once on Parry's Pickups in the past. And that game I got for 49 kroner, which is roughly, you see it already, about £5. And that is Dead Island the Definitive Collection. So I've never played a Dead Island game. I know they've been around forever. I even downloaded it when it was free on Xbox 360, but never got around to playing it. At 49 kroner, I thought this is a game I couldn't turn down trying. And I have done, and it is sort of what I expected, I guess. It's a first-person action game. It reminds me a lot of Dead Rising, but played within a first-person perspective, in that there's a lot of weapons scattered around the area which you can pick up and they break over time, like Zelda as well, I guess. And you have to collect current money as well from either corpses or bags, because what's happened is you're on this island resort and there's been this zombie outbreak, and there's a lot of like left behind baggage and things strewn around, and everywhere's in a state of chaos. And you and some other survivors have teamed up to try and work out the best way in saving yourselves and protecting yourselves against this zombie onslaught. So it's sort of like Dead Rising in paradise, and but with a first-person perspective. Graphics look very nice. Seeing this was originally a 360 game, I think it's definitely now in line with what you come to expect from this generation of consoles. You not only get the original Dead Island, you also get Dead Island Riptide, and you get Dead Island Retro Revenge, which is side-scrolling beat 'em up, which I haven't tried yet. I haven't tried Riptide either, because I think there's still plenty of game for me to play on the original Dead Island. And excuse that noise, just then that's my tablet going off. Yeah, I like it so far. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's incredibly original. As I say, it's very similar to Dead Rising, in my eyes, at least to the point that I've played. It's quite adult in its presentation. You know, it's not a humorous game like Dead Rising is. It is pretty intense. There's quite a lot of, you know, graphic violence and swearing, and it's certainly deserving of his 18 rated certificate. But no, there's a good little kind of progression system where you level up certain aspects of your character's abilities. You also, I guess, can change the game quite considerably from the beginning, where you have to choose which type of character you want. You've got a girl who's good with guns. You've got like a heavy weapons kind of guy. You've got the girl that I picked, which is good with a sword and with pointy objects, I guess. So yeah, you can influence how the game plays based on what character you pick as well. So not just one character that you can play as. So pretty happy with that, especially for the price. So 4 really quite good games I've picked up recently, all for modern consoles. Some of them also being brand new, like Sonic Forces and Super Lucky's Tale, which for platform fans, I think you're going to get a lot out of both those games. If you like Sonic, obviously go for Sonic. If you're more of a Mario type person, then you've got Super Lucky's Tale. And we're really spoiled for choice as platform game fans at the minute, because you've got Super Mario Odyssey on the Switch as well. So for any console, you've certainly got some good alternatives there. And that's basically it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you got any comments, you want to talk about any of these games I've mentioned in this episode, or maybe if you've got other platform games that you could recommend, then just leave them down below in the comments. And I guess next time I'll see you in the UK. I don't know exactly when that'll be, probably more around Christmas time now. As I'm presently packing up my belongings, you can see the picture disappeared from there. More and more things will get packed away. It's just a big job to do before I go. So it's been great being the Danish correspondent and seeking out all these Danish game deals. I do have one more trip to Horsens next weekend where I might just pick something up, but if I do, I'll more than likely talk about that once I'm back in the UK. So thanks again for taking the time to watch the episode. I do hope you've enjoyed it, and until next time, game on.